Hello, everyone. Welcome. Today is Monday, October 3rd, 2022. I am Solid Blue Sister, and this is My Turn to Talk. And to anyone following us over on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, and Twitch, and all the other platforms, welcome. Welcome. Thank you. I hope you like the show. Ninja Bunny, hello there. Welcome. Welcome. I see you are number one today. Hey, Frankie, what's up? Hey, girl, number two. And as usual, I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. It is a beautiful day here in sunny Southern California. Not too hot. Okay, so I am going to stop the music here and we're going to get started. Okay, so let's see. Welcome to Minnesota. Welcome, welcome. So today I want to talk about cameras in the classroom. So last week or the week before last, we were talking about cameras in your home. Is it cool to have cameras in your home? Do you tell your guests, privacy of guests, blah, blah, blah. So today I want to talk about cameras in the classroom. Should parents be able to monitor children's classes? Now, a friend of mine said no. In fact, she texted me when she found out what my topic was going to be. And she said no, because then you turn parents into helicopter parents. And I texted back to her that I was on the fence because when we went to school, things weren't the way they are now. Classrooms are not the way they are now. Even some of the worst classrooms back when I was coming up is probably nothing compared to what we have now. So I'm on the fence, especially what is going on in classrooms nowadays. Not saying it didn't happen, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100, 200 years ago, but things are just different. So Ninja says cameras should not be in the classroom. All it would do is enable parents to critique the teachers, is opening up a can of worms. Okay, Ninja, okay, I understand that. But at the same time, when you have children who are taking their cell phones into the classroom, and they are, they have the cameras on. If the teacher gets into it with another student, the camera is, the kids are filming it. They're posting it on TikTok, Facebook, whatever. What do? Welcome, Bob, Jester, and Brina. So that's why I say I'm on the fence. On one hand, I say yes. On the other hand, I say no, because I think that is tricky. And then again, when I was in school, what kids did in the classroom was nothing compared to what they're doing now. And again, teachers were still doing stuff that they should not have, and they're still doing it now. So what about Ninja? I'm going to switch it up a little bit, and I'm asking you only because you make the comment. But do you believe that cameras should be at daycare centers? And yes, there's a bit of a difference, but is it really? Would the parents still be critiquing the daycare workers. So, and I understand in terms of critiquing the teachers in terms of what they're teaching the kids and what have you. So, what do you think? Let's see. Welcome. Who just popped in? Charlie O. So, does anyone think that there's a difference there, just in terms of daycare workers being filmed, and parents have the app where they can monitor their children, as opposed to being in the classroom? And does it matter the grade? If you're okay with daycare workers having cameras where a parent can monitor, is it okay for, say, if you're in kindergarten or first or second grade, that as you get older, then the answer is no? Or what do you think? And Ninja says you need to have trust in daycare just as in the classroom. Ninja, I'm gonna have to push back on that. Hey, Shelby, welcome. I'm gonna have to push back on that because you have a lot of stories out there where you have daycare workers who don't treat children correctly. And, there are a lot of good daycare workers out there. Then there are some that, they're not that great. And some of them, are downright dangerous. You have daycare centers that are, have too many children and not enough workers. Just things that just aren't right. So shouldn't a parent have the right? Okay, Ninja, you have a good point. We should do our due diligence. All right, so let me switch it back. A couple of weeks ago, we were talking about cameras in the home. Should you have cameras in the home? So is there a difference between having a camera at daycare? And yes, I am going to get back to the classroom. Is there a difference between having a camera at daycare and having a camera in your home, taking care of your child? If you and your husband go out for the night, whatever, and you have a babysitter, is there a difference from having a camera there? Or should you say you should do your due diligence, and trust the person who comes into your home to take care of your child? Because for me, and Jester says trust no one. Okay, so cameras in your home, Shelby, you're gonna have to explain a little bit more there. I'm not understanding which way you're going with that. And Jester, and yeah, trust no one. It's like, for me, when it comes to your family, your possessions or whatever, you don't know what people are doing. And now, even some of these states are saying put cameras in the classroom to monitor teachers, to make sure that they're not teaching certain things that these, that people don't want taught. So, let's see, cameras in your home. Okay. Bob says you can trust me though. Okay, I mean, you should have cameras in home and schools. Okay, so Shelby, cameras in the classrooms or in schools, just, down the hall, or, in the hallway, in the cafeteria, outside on the playground. Is there a limit as to where those cameras should be? Yes, hallways and everywhere. Okay. With the exception of the bathrooms and the locker rooms, of course. So, okay, so is it so much as monitoring? And again, Ninja, I understand what you're saying. It is opening a can of worms where all of a sudden the teachers are like, I didn't like that lesson plan. Why are you doing this? You didn't spend enough time. My child was raising their hand. You didn't answer them. why was your, classroom so out of control? Yes, it opens up a lot. Yes, absolutely. But at the same time, will it make the students and the teachers more mindful that those cameras are there, that the students will actually buckle down and sit and listen, put the cell phones away and listen to the teacher? And will the teacher also be more apt to be on their best behavior and not do anything that they're not supposed to? So, Crucible, welcome. Okay, Shelby says you're right, but it will put the parents at ease. Okay, so Ninja, do you agree with Shelby? I'm assuming that you don't. Let's see. Ninja says, how do we secure these cameras then? They are not a secure device. They can be hacked. Malware attacks are on the rise. True. So are you saying securing them? When you say hacking, are you saying that someone can manipulate what's going on in the classroom? Because for the most part, aside from hacking, and you bring up a very good point, aside from hacking and what have you, I'm just saying just have the cameras in the classroom. Is it necessary? Should they be there just for the parent to monitor what is going on? And even for the school. I mean, what if there's a school shooting? They don't happen every day, but they happen. Will that make a difference of, police officers being able to see where children are? But at the same time, you can say, well, the shooter can also hack, like you just said, and see where everyone is. So I see it as a double-edged sword. Welcome, Daddy Hoff. And Shelby says, okay, that is my point. So, see, Ninja says, I don't want my underage children put online for any reason. What's the camera going to do to stop a shooting? Nothing. No, you're right. You're right. But if your child was coming home saying, Mom, the teacher's doing this, they're picking on me, they're doing this, and this, and this, would it be better that the camera was there to see it? Not saying that your child is not telling the truth, because I personally believe that when children come home and they say things like that, especially when they're little, they're usually telling the truth. So would you want that as a backup? Because you do have parents who are sending their kids to school with these hidden cameras to do exactly that, to catch a teacher or a bully or whatever in the act of doing whatever. So would you say yes, no? I mean, is there any reason whatsoever, Ninja, that you would say that that you would want someone, to monitor the classroom? Welcome, Daddy Hoff. Did I already say welcome? Well, welcome again. Okay, what if your child comes home with marks on them? Okay, so that's a good point. And children do come home with marks on them. I go back to the bullies. I mean, all you got to do is look at some of these, things that are posted on TikTok and YouTube and see, that other kids in the classroom are posting of what's going on in the classroom. And that's without cameras. That's with someone else's cell phone. So, and then, okay, I'm not in favor of a police state. Okay. All right. I'm just pushing back and you're pushing back. Okay. So, all right, cool. All right. So, let's see. Crucible, welcome.
Hello, Solid. Hello, everyone. I mean, this is a very tricky one, but I mean, I'm old enough to know when there was no cameras anywhere. But just because that was okay back, 40 or 50 years ago, I'm not one of those people who says, well, it was good enough in my day, so it's good enough for everybody else. Things change, and things have changed fairly rapidly across society over the last 30 to 40 years or so. So there's a reason we have cameras everywhere. Whether they're deterrents or not is up for another topic. But the idea that we're going to exempt schools, particularly when schools have become such a hotbed in the last, let's say, 20 years, not just with curriculum issues that have just surfaced in the last couple of years. I think to some extent legitimate curriculum issues, but you've got school shootings, and no, it might not be able to prevent one, but it might be able to capture valuable images. You've got violence against teachers. You've got fights between students. You've got students bringing weapons to class. I mean, to say, I understand what Shelby is saying, what Ninja is saying about a police state, but throughout history and time, every time there's been an innovation or an advancement or a quote unquote, and I'm using air quotes, improvement, it has not come without its blemishes, its downsides, its risks, and its negatives. The question we have to ask is, on balance, are we solving more problems than we're creating? That is a subjective question in the ear and eye of the questioner and answerer. But I think in this case, we probably are solving more. And I'm not a police state person either. I'm not a big fan of surveillance. But I think in this case, we're erring on the side of solving and potentially preventing some problems as opposed to creating more. Are we going to create some? Absolutely. It's inevitable. But I just think we're at a point in the world, in society, particularly with children, for all the reasons you guys have been listing in the chat, that we're better off going in that direction than the other way.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Let me go. See what he's looking. Mark's on them in a favorite police state. Good questions. Thank you, Minnesota. Let's see. Boss says government putting cameras in schools and surveillance on teachers and pupils is big brother and overstepping. So if it's me, I'm not giving up my phone as protection of my rights. Hey, Juju, welcome. So we already have cameras in the classroom just for the fact that people bring cell phones in, and with everything that's going on, you also have teachers that abuse students, teachers who say things that they shouldn't. So I want to make sure that it's a problem as a whole. But we already have cell phones in the classroom. So whether or not you want to say, it's a police state, whatever, but, even if we were to take down every camera, that's on every, street light or whatever around the entire world, we still have cell phones. People are still going to be using surveillance of each other. We're still going to be doing it. Every time, somebody says boo, somebody's pulling out their cell phones. So, and again, I'm playing both sides here. So what's the difference between taking down the cameras in the classroom and your kid still has a cell phone? The teacher has a cell phone where they can film things. I've heard of people where they're literally told, they tell their kids, when you get to class, film everything. And their kids are literally sitting there filming. So
that's a great point, Sal.
Wait, hold on. So not only that, and also you have, when you go to college, because I did it when I was in college, even though we didn't have cell phones back then, I taped the classes so I can listen to them later. So what's the difference between now? You go into university or high school, whatever, and they're taping it. You capture something. What's the difference? It is still there. So maybe not as much as it was back when I was in school, but when you can say, oh, the government this or the schools this or parents this or whatever, but people are taping, and they always will. Just like reality shows, cell phones are not going away. They're getting more advanced. They're getting, so many things that you can do with it. So, Crucible.
Yeah, that's a really good point. What I don't want to see happen, and it's to some extent it goes on with the gun situation today, with who can carry one and who can't. Should we disarm the police while we're arming citizens? I see a similar concept with cameras in the classroom. You make a good point. Everybody, students, they have the power and they have the ability and they certainly have the ambition to film every single thing that they believe in their young minds is unfair or wrong on some level, yet to not allow the people who you're going to be accusing, whether it's another student or whether it's a teacher, more importantly, I'm referring to teachers here now, why is it not fair that the students have evidence and have the ability to make accusations, yet the person who's being accused doesn't have those same resources or tools at their disposal in order to defend themselves? So I guess it would have to be a one or the other. Everybody gets cameras or nobody gets them, because otherwise we're creating an unfair playing field, and I just think that's going to lead to more trouble.
Well, I'm going to push back on that some, because teachers do have the ability to pick up their cell phones and record, which some have, and then let's see. I want to read. Hold on. I'm sorry, my chat always jumps. Bob says a cell phone is much more than a camera. Ninja says, then there's no need for a camera in the classroom. And then Bob says, and they should be removed from classroom. Simple. Using the minority of ill-behaved students to justify a point, a push through a narrative is what they do. Okay, and again, let's see. Glucose says, yeet. I don't know what that means. So sorry. So again, so Ninja, again, I understand what you're saying. So when you say, okay, so no need for cameras in the classroom, so then does it matter if then I can come back and say, well, then does it matter if cameras are there? So I guess my point is that cameras are going to be around anyway. So whether it's mounted up on a wall that the school, the school board said we're going to put these in every a classroom, or your kid is coming to school filming, or the teacher sets up her own cell phone and she's recording, whatever. Either way, you're being recorded. Either way, and a cell phone tape is more likely to land on social media a lot faster than a school tape or something would. So let's see. Okay, Glucose, I'm in between estimates driving, just listening. Well, thank you for popping on and listening. I appreciate it. Okay, Ninja says, who's going to be watching these videos in the classroom? Parents are working 8 hours a day. Who has the time? If it were my kid, oh yeah, I would have the time. You have a lot, just like, and I'm gonna go back to the daycares. You can sit at your desk or whatever and have the app going. I mean, it's not like you're literally, okay, I gotta pull out this big old projector or whatever. I mean, I think that people would. I think that parents would. Okay, who's paying for the infrastructure? Cameras aren't inexpensive. No, they're not. So you're going to watch 8 hours of feed. I am going to watch anything that my child is in. Will I watch 8 hours of feed? No. Will I watch a significant portion of it? Yes. Only because I know the type of mom that I was when my son was in school. So, I mean, and I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for anyone else. Involved parents will always make time. So, Shelby, welcome.
Hi. How are y'all? I was gonna answer about the a reply about the parents that are people that would sit and watch the cameras. In our state, we have what they call PTO, and those parents have to volunteer so many hours a month. and those are the ones that watch the cameras. So, you always, and if the parents aren't available, the drug task force person, they're not in class all the time. So they, sit and watch those cameras also.
Okay, Shelby. So when you say have, are you saying that it's a requirement of the parents to have to do that?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now I don't know if I would necessarily like a requirement. I think that if your child, I mean, it should be up to each. For me, it should be up to each person's. If you have a child in Mrs. Smith's room in room 204, then you you know you somehow make the time or whatever to watch that tape. Um, um, Not somebody who. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily like the fact that it's a requirement.
It's only if you're in the PTO, though.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
And that's usually mothers that don't work. So,
Okay.
they have the time to,
Well, no, you can't just automatically
to
say that
volunteer
parents
to
that
do that.
don't automatically say that parents who don't work don't automatically have time.
I know that's not. I didn't mean
and
it
but that's
that
a whole
way,
different
in
show.
that
I just had to put that in
direction.
there.
I know, because I didn't have the time either. But you some parents do make that time to go in and watch. Because I would like, my words are getting tongue-tied today.
That's okay. That's okay.
It's a Monday.
It is Monday. I was about to say that it is Monday.
But I would feel safer with a camera in the classroom because of the simple fact, what if somebody is picking on my child? Or what if the teacher is picking on my child? You have that backup to know that, if your child comes home and says, well, my teacher don't like me, the teacher does this or the teacher does that. And then some of the child's friends would come, would tell their parents, hey, so-and-so, Miss Da-da-da picks on so-and-so all the time. I would just much rather have a camera in the classroom.
Okay. All right. And a formal welcome to Alpha, Mike, and Grid. Welcome. And let's see. And Power Girl. Okay, so Glucose said cameras should only be there to be able to play back if there's a fight or an allegation. Alpha says school has always been like a prison. Glucose says that's not true. I was the vice president of PTO for my school, and I'm a male. 4 years. They make that time, and I was employed full time running a business. Okay. Alpha says you should trust your child so they can learn to trust more. Let your kid tell you if they are being picked on. It builds character to learn from your experience. And okay, so interesting. Interesting. Again, for those who have just come on, is there a difference between having cameras in the classroom and having cameras at daycare? Anybody?
I don't think there is a difference. I would much rather have, like I said, have cameras in both places, especially when they're toddlers. Toddlers can't tell you if something's wrong.
Okay. All right. And Ninja says there's no difference. Glucose says none. So do you think that, let's say cameras are in the classroom, does it matter what age the child is? Does it matter if you have a first grader who's 6-7 years old in first grade, or someone who is a senior in high school who's 17, 18? Does it matter the grade or the age? Glucose says it's me, Chris, just added. Okay. All right. Okay, Chris. Um, the consent of the parent is needed. Let's see. Bob says, I worry. I'm sorry. Alpha says, I worry more about monitoring of the staff members and not the kids. I knew security guards who sold kids drugs and even hit on some girls. Ninja says, if you don't have confidence in the place that takes care of your children, then move your children. Okay, all right. So since Shelby and Crucible are the ones that are up here, what about what Ninja says? If you don't have confidence in the place that takes care of your children, then move your children. What do you
Okay,
guys?
what do you do about waiting lists? You know, daycares and places like that are on strict waiting lists. You can't just up and move your child because you know, of the waiting list of somewhere else. I mean,
Well, you can move them eventually. I agree. You might not be able to move them in the next quarter, the next semester, or whatnot. But we live in a. I know things like school districts and whatnot. So I'm sensitive to that. But we live in a free society, and if we don't like the service we're getting at a particular establishment, we don't keep giving them our business, do we? And I know children are different. I'm just saying we have preferences, we have choices. So rather than stay and fight, which I think is a noble endeavor, maybe the easier thing to do would be just to move the child. Now, that's not to say you're going to continue to accommodate teachers and schools and continually move your child all over the place. There's a limit to that, but I do think it's not an unfair option.
well, I agree, but I'm just saying you have waiting lists at daycares. You can't just, you know, what are you going to do? Take off work until they get into the other place?
No, I mean that's like I said. I'm not saying logistically or practically or anything that is a good choice. It is a choice. We have lots of choices in lives, and we kind of rank them as to which we would prefer, and we kind of go at that from a descending order. We try this, then we try this, and then finally we go, okay, well, that didn't work, so now I got to move my child. So I'm not saying it's an easy thing or it should be accommodated in all cases. Sometimes it's important to push back because there may be a similar problem at the next school and so on and so forth. So it is not fair for the parents to have to keep moving their child. I'm just saying on a list of options, it is one.
Okay, let me answer Chris, because Chris says, "What does that have to do with cameras?" Well, it does, because I asked the question about, having cameras in daycare, and what if the person is not treating your child right, and Ninja says, if you don't have confidence in the place that takes care of your children, then you should move your children. So they're responding to that, Chris. That is where that's coming from. So it does tie in with cameras. Okay, so I'm sorry, Shelby. I didn't mean to interrupt, or Crucible. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was actually enjoying the back and forth between you two. So, anybody, either one of you want to say anything else?
Well, one of the things I did want to point out, and I don't want to get into a whole different tangent here, but we have been discussing things
Let's.
like possible abuse, behavioral types of things. Though that's been the primary focus of the conversation, as far as I know. But one of the things that I'm curious about, and one of the things that cell phones in the hands of students and teachers, as a lot of you have been saying, is the remedy for cameras in the classroom. A lot of them are not going to film certain things. And where I'm going with this is curriculum. And I'm not necessarily talking about critical race theory or things like that have become very controversial. I'm talking about the meat and potatoes of what kids are taught every single day. Reading, spelling, math, history. I know it's pandemic related to some extent, but grades that I've been reading, just anecdotally, in my readings, the last 2 years particularly, and it's not a surprise, but it has been trending in this direction for decades now.
Okay.
Grade scores of basic things like math and reading are at all-time lows. Kids are not learning. We're turning out illiterate society.
Okay.
Well, wait. So I'm saying,
I'm just trying to stay on. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to stay on topic here.
Well,
That's
cameras
all.
are cameras, right? They should be filming everything. We should be concerned about everything going on in the classroom, not just selective things
No,
that a
no,
teacher
and
finds
no,
interesting and a student finds interesting. No, none of those people, the students nor the teacher, are going to film any curriculum issues. And I find it a little bit surprising that nobody, when you see the scores and the grades and the stupid people we're graduating today, putting them in society, nobody seems alarmed.
I understand what you're saying, but again, in terms of what's being taught in the classroom, I respectfully say that's more of a different show. But at the same time, with bringing it back to cameras in the classrooms, if cameras were in the classrooms, well, then they would be able to film what is being taught. So, and will cameras in the classrooms necessarily make children smarter or what have you? I mean, will it? I mean, even if the teacher is teaching everything that that they are supposed to, but I would really want to stay on topic with the cameras and then talk about turning out illiterate children, whatever, because that's a different show. But you make a point. So when people have cell phones and what have you, are they going to be filming, Mrs. Jones' class from start to finish in terms of what Mrs. Jones was teaching? Probably not. Human nature was mainly, you're just going to start filming as soon as, there's a fight or, somebody is saying something nasty or somebody's doing something to somebody. So no, they would not be filming everything. Crucible. Okay, I will read some comments here. Did you want to say something, Crucible?
No.
I'm just trying to. I'm just okay. Um, See, Alba says, let's just put the kids in penitentiary and drill society's laws into them, making them mindless slaves. Oh, wait, we already do that, called school. Okay. Chris says cameras should be put in senior citizens' homes as well. All right. Bob says, doesn't that make you all sad this going to the stage where we have to talk about closed circuit TV in schools and in case bad things happen, just making a point. We've been talking about that for years and years and years and years and years. Kids totally are pampered pussies, pampered people. They don't even teach cursive writing anymore. No, they do not. Chris says, I can see it benefiting, as she said, conflict. Ninja says to Chris, perhaps it can open Pandora's box, and the fact that a hacker could get into the camera bothers me. Okay, Ninja, I am going to ask you, this is the second time you brought up the hacker. What is it exactly you're afraid of when you say the hacker? Are you saying that someone can get into the cameras and hack photos or images of the children? Or when you say hacker, okay, all right. So, okay, so I would ask this. I don't, know what you post on social media. I don't know, how you post on social media, but I would say for someone who would be concerned about that, would it be the same concern of people who on social medias, on the Facebooks and everything, they are putting pictures of their children? I mean, with Facebook and, TikTok and Instagram and all these other platforms out there, people are plastering their kids. This is what my kid did today. Look at him, look at her, whatever, where it has allowed people to use, hack those images and use other people's kids for their own benefits. I have seen it. Other people have seen it. So is there a difference from, for people who may have a problem with the hacking and images of children, but they're putting their children's images on Facebook? Let's see.
They can still hack into a private account. I've had it done.
Okay. And Ninja
or it's
says,
been done to me. I didn't go do it.
okay.
It's been done to me on a Facebook private account.
Okay. And Ninja says they can manipulate the camera also. Alpha says hackers can access your camera on your cell phone, but we still got them. Ninja says my account is private, only family is on it. Okay. All right. But again, is there a difference between if you go into Target, if you go into some of these stores or whatever, if you're walking down the street, I mean, your image is still out there. Your image is out there for stores and everyone else to see. Let's see. Bob says the conversation around CCTV and cameras in the class is being pushed and justified because of school shootings and people's being violent, so that we come to accept it. However, my opinion about surveillance control, it will happen. So I would just say this. People have options. You can homeschool. Um, uh, you can, as Shelby and Ninja and Crucible were saying, you can move your child someplace else. That to a place that doesn't have a camera, where your child won't be taped. There are other options out there. Alpha says even devices like Alexa, Echo, Siri, Google are all listening devices. There's no privacy anymore. Good point. Let's see. There, I wrote that book. Quote. Let's see. Ninja says also teachers don't need the added pressure of being watched all day. Well, I do believe Florida they are getting that, because it was mandated that I do believe that basically teachers are basically being spied on to make sure they don't teach CRT. Chris says it's too bad nothing is invented that we can turn on. Wait, let me read that again. It's too bad that nothing is invented that we can turn on, that any pictures would be blurred like a bubble around us. Bob says, can we homeschool when both kids have to work and can't afford a private tutor? Homeschooling does not require private tutors, at least not here in the U.S. Both parents, and you can also hook up with another parent to have your child homeschool with them. There are so many different ways to homeschool, at least there are here in the U.S. But then again, if your child is in school, like someone said, don't put them in a school with a camera. Put them in a school where there's something else. So let's see. Let's see. Nice. I have to look into that. Thanks, Solid. Did not know. So yeah, there's here in the U.S. there are so many different ways to homeschool your child. So all right. So Shelby Crucible, is Crucible still on? Is there anybody want to push back on any of this? Thank you everyone for liking the show. I mean, because cameras in the classroom, I mean, it is a dicey subject. But cameras have been in classrooms for years. They've been in classrooms for years. When the Columbine shooting happened back in 1999, cameras started to go up. Cameras have been around for a long time. So whether it's in a classroom, whether it's, on that street corner where you go to get coffee every day, and every day, whoever is sitting at the city desk monitoring the cameras can see that, like clockwork, every day you're going into Starbucks, at 1:02 p.m. to get a coffee. Cameras have been around. You go to the gas station to get gas. They've been filming us for years. So is there really a difference because they're in the classroom? So
I don't think there is, but you have that situation to where, not all kids are honest. They may have that phone and you think that they're recording something in that room and they could be on social media.
true, true, true. Alpha says kids have cell phones now. They can just record whatever they want in class. I mean, and that's my point. So whether the camera is hanging up on a wall that was mandated by a school board or by the city or by the courthouse or whatever, um, uh, you know, people have cell phones and they record anything. It's like, sometimes I go places, and it's like, you're just conscious of anybody can whip out a camera. I was at downtown Disney with one of my friends when she was visiting, and I was filming her on her camera with her son, because they wanted me to film them. They were doing, this little dance in front of the stage thing, whatever. And a lady comes over to us and says, please don't film me. And I'm like, I'm not filming you. I'm filming them. Well, it looked like your camera was. No, I was filming them. So anytime you turn around, somebody's going to think that you're filming them. Maybe you are, maybe you're not. But again, when I think about that now, it's like, well, what's the difference between me having this camera in my hand and possibly you getting into the shot, or that camera that's, right there in our face that's hanging up on this pole, watching everybody walk around downtown Disney, Let's see. So I don't know.
I'm just going to use this as an analogy, not to get off subject. But I did used to work at home, and you would call people, on the phone. It wasn't a telemarketer, but you did call people at home, and you did let them know that the subject that you were talking about was recorded. I had several customers tell me that I'm not interested if you're going to record me. And so that time, it comes back to, why there are some people out there that don't want that, in the situation, but you have in the classroom, it's different because you're protecting the student and the teacher, not just the student, because there are some rough kids out there too.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's not just the student or the child that's going to be in trouble, or or just the teacher, because sometimes I've seen different movies where the teacher's the one getting beat up on. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure that it's just Hollywood, but you got to think, what if that teacher's getting picked on by these kids?
And you do have some film that is out there with teachers that are getting picked on and beat up, by students. So and Shelby, you did bring up a good point. Is it's like when we pick up the phone and we're calling about our utility bill, or we're calling about anything today. One of the first things that they say is, this call is being recorded. So you may not be filmed, but you're still being recorded, whether it's audio or visual, whatever. You're still being recorded. So are you going to stop calling places because you're being recorded? You can say, okay, well, I won't call them. I'll just go in into the place. Okay, you go in, then they have a camera. So again, cameras in the classroom, it is a dicey subject. It is dicey. Some parents want it, some parents don't. I understand both sides, whatever, but nowadays, wherever you are, it seems like, from, unless you're in the bathroom, and then even then, you have some people who set up cameras in bathrooms to watch people do things, whatever, you're being recorded. So I don't know, and, well, that's another subject, so I won't go down that road. But Alpha Mike says, during COVID, Amazon had cameras monitoring you as you would walk into the building in order to check the spacing and your temperature. That was a bit dramatic. But Alpha, especially during what 2021, you had a lot of that going on. You had a lot of the places that you would go into, checking your temperature and what have you. So there are some hospitals, that, where you are still required to wear masks. Some places still, check your temp, whatever, every time you come in. So you can say, well, is it different because you're going into a hospital as opposed to going to your place of work? Probably, but they still did it. Alva says it was the same at the Hard Rock Hotel. Bob says, yes, I know if you on the phone to some of these companies and say, I'm also recording you, they hang up because they are trained to con you. Basically, some of them do, some of them don't. If you call someone like a bank or something like that, they are not going to do that. Certain places you are going to be recorded, so you can continue to say that all the time, and they hang up on you or whatever. But again, we're still, for the majority, we are in a society where we are either being filmed or we are being recorded. So thank you everyone for liking the show. So again, I come back to, I'm gonna swing it around to the show that I had 2 weeks ago, where I was talking about cameras inside your own personal home. If I was a guest in your house and you're recording, do I have the right to say, please don't record me? I don't want you capturing my image. Is it a difference because it's your own personal home as opposed to a school or a bank or someone else? If I don't want to be recorded or filmed, can I say, please don't do that? Hey, Dee, I didn't see you come in. Dee, welcome, and Angie, welcome. I apologize for not greeting you guys earlier. So is there a difference? Okay, you have the right, but you can just leave it. Okay, so Ninja, so does that mean that if your child is in school, you can say, I don't want my child being filmed, but then again, you have the right to just leave? Or if you go into a store, I don't want to be filmed. Okay, you have the right to leave. Would that be the same thing? I'm playing devil's advocate here. So
I want to agree with Ninja and Ba that you're right to leave.
okay, so
if you're told, I have a recording device in my home. If you don't want this to be, heard, you might want to take it outside or go to a different part of the house. And then they say, no, we'll just leave. Then that's your right.
okay, so can you do the same thing with school? You arrive at school and everyone's told that there are cameras. You're like, well, I don't want my child to be filmed. 8 hours a day or 6 hours, however long they're in school. Then you have the right to leave. So would you take your child out of school?
You have that right, and unless you're going to homeschool, you're not going to find a school very, very that's not got cameras in the classroom.
Okay. All right. Okay. Boss says public schools are taxpayer funded, so I'm sure people have a say in whether they want cameras in school, withdraw their money. If only it was that easy. Hey, Caps, welcome. So thank you, Caps. So I mean, again, it is a touchy subject. It's like on one hand, you have cameras in your home, you don't like it, leave. On the other hand, you have cameras at daycare. If you don't like it, go take your kid somewhere else. You have them in school. You don't like it, go enroll your kid in a different school. You're driving down the street. You write. You tell the mayor, I don't like the fact that there's cameras. At the end of my block. Okay, you don't like it, move. I mean, it's just that we are just living in a society where, and this is not something that is new. This is something that has been going on for a long time. Cameras have been around for a long time. You have the big, bulky cameras, and now they're just more, sophisticated and the technology's there, but they've been around for a long time. People have been recording us for a long time. So, I mean, it is a touchy subject. So, with that, Shelby, do you have any last words? Because unless anybody has anything else that they would like to say, Caps, I'm going to invite you up. Be on your best behavior.
Hello, Solid. I hope you're doing very well.
Hello, Caps.
I hope you're doing very well.
I am. Thank
I
you.
believe that people should be monitored in classes now because I think a teacher can't be trusted anymore. And not just the teacher, but the pupils with the amount of pupils that are in the class.
Okay.
I agree.
I think it's really important and imperative that because like you need an extra hand. I really believe that. I don't believe a teacher. I teach in my own profession, but like only to adults. But with children, with the amount of children that one teacher has to do, I think that they definitely need monitoring. Definitely, if that means a camera or a person, that is very very important. I think that should be introduced without fail because it protects everybody.
Right.
Okay. All right. All right. So, so I take it then you would have no problem. Excuse me. You would have no problem of your children being in a classroom that had cameras.
I don't, not in this day and age with children bullying each other and the teacher not seeing it. I definitely, I agree with it because there's so many things that the teachers do not see, and kids are literally sat there like in disbelief, and every day they get bullied and it's never seen. And yeah, I do believe that there should be, accountable for people's actions just because the teacher doesn't see it or doesn't think it's bullying.
Okay. Now, Ninja says, Caps, she disagrees. She says, I disagree. If you're not confident in the people caring for your children, you need to move them to a safer environment. What do you say to that, Caps?
Well, I believe that you can't just move. People can't just up and go unless you're rich. That is not an option. You can't go where the grass is greener. Come on now. You have to realize that you have to deal with what's in front of you. I didn't say we're going to avoid the situation. What we do is learn from the situation, you know.
Okay,
No,
so
you,
so
you, you
so
no,
Nick,
I didn't say my kids had a problem. I didn't say that. What I said, monitoring. If it in this day and age, I believe monitoring is probably the best action because in your country they're all shooting people up. So really, yeah, cameras probably should be a thing. You
okay,
know,
so Caps, Ninja is asking you, so you'll just leave your kids there.
well, like if I thought there was a problem, then like you can't automatically you can't foretell you can't speak the future, can you? How do you know that something's going to happen?
You're right. You're right. You're right. So, okay. Well,
And what if it's a situation to where there's a lot of complaints out of that room?
Yeah, but like obviously everywhere where you go, you're gonna put your kid into the best like environment you possibly can, but you can't foretell the future, you know? Come on
Right.
now, like come on, like on a serious level, you can think the grass is greener on every other side that you put them in, but you've got to be honest and true to yourself to say that they're gonna fall into problems, you know? And they've got to bloody deal with them themselves, sadly enough. And it's only us to pick up the pieces and to try and help them and push them and make sure they, in the end, have got ground under their feet and learn from this problem. But like I said in the first place, monitoring children would be better because you'd be able to know, you know, what they're up against. You know, you've got so many teachers that say things. You've got so many, you know, especially in your society, but my society probably not as much, but your society definitely. So yeah, I'd say it was a good thing. Even how, not even cameras, monitoring. You could use a person as a monitoring. Brilliant. It could be help as well. So you can't say that you can't. Oh, don't put your kid in that situation because that's a little bit of a mad thing to say, really, because you can't say that that's going to happen.
okay.
No one knows.
Right.
No.
All right. Shelby, I'm going to wrap it up. Do you have any last words?
No, ma'am. I agree with the caps.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And Crucible, are you still here?
Yes, I am. Yeah, just real quick. I think, generally speaking, we as a society, we've become way too obsessed with filming everything. People film their meals, they film their vacations, they film every minor thing that they do. And I don't think it's to our benefit. I just don't think it is. So I think we need to live our lives a little bit more and experience them instead of chronicling them all the time. But having said that, I think 40 years from now, 50 years from now, we'll look back and we'll say, how did we ever get by without cameras? We are an adaptive society. Innovations develop as the world sees a need for them. So even though a lot of us disagree on what the need really is, I think it's going to be one of those things where like we do on a lot of things, how do we ever get by without fill in the blank? So I think they're here to stay. They have their upsides, they have their downsides, but I think we as a society are way too fixated on filming everything.
And I will
Yeah.
say, if anyone is one of those people who are on here, I think people who film their food and take pictures of every time you turn around and they're posting it, that is one thing I just don't get. Anyway. Caps, you wanted to say one last thing?
No, I fully agree with you there, and I'm not one of them people. Thank God, not at all. I'm not a social media freak, but Crucible, I know where you're coming from, but in all situations, it is definitely different. So, like, with our children, I think that it is very important, but in real life, as the big brother kind of thing, it's completely different. So, I understand where you're coming from, but yeah, with our children in school at the minute, it's very important. But
And
anyway, thank you so much, Solid, for just being lovely and
you're welcome,
lovely.
Caps. Okay. And Juju says, I do. And I take it you're talking about filming your food. Juju. Thank you, Caps. And Chris says, 4 pictures of themselves in the mirror. Juju, I'm gonna have to talk to you, girlfriend. I'm gonna have to pull you over to the side. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for coming. This is the show. Thank you so much, Caps, Shelby, and Crucible. Thank you for popping up, and hope to see you guys tomorrow. Until then, go where the wind takes you. And Ninja Money, thank you so much for your input. I enjoyed it. I know I was pushing back on you, and you pushed right back on me, and we had a back and forth. So thank you, thank you very much. So, all right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your day or evening wherever you are in the world. Bye. So everyone who was here, Chris, Caps, Jester was here, Alpha Mike, Grid, Juju, D-Mac, Ninja, Brina was here, Shelby, Bob, Minnesota, Frankie, let's see, Power Girl was here. I know I'm missing somebody. I always miss people. And I don't mean to. Angie. Let's see. I said Alpha Mike. So, and Daddy Hoff. So all of you guys, thank you so much, and everyone else who's now watching me stream everywhere. Thank you if you're watching. And everyone, my YouTube channel is growing slowly but surely. I appreciate the people who are following me and who are watching the show. Thank you. So on that note, guys.